Good morning students, welcome all of you to online English class. In the previous class, we have completed the environmental essay, Everything I Need to Know and Learned in the Forest by Vandana Shiva. In this session, I am going to sum up the whole chapter, whole essay. So let us see which are the key points you need to remember to have command over this essay. To get this essay on your fingertips, you need to remember these many key points, and if you remember these many key points, it will enable you to remember the whole essay. Without delay, let's begin. The first key point is Vandana Shiva's childhood. In the beginning of the essay, Vandana Shiva, she is giving an account of her childhood. After the tragic partition of India and Pakistan, Vandana Shiva's parents, they moved to the Himalayan region where Vandana Shiva learnt about ecology and environment. Vandana Shiva's mother, she was a farmer. She used to compose songs, poems and poetry about forest trees and forest civilization. And Vandana Shiva's father, he was a forest conservator. By this, Vandana Shiva, even in her childhood, she got inspiration from her parents and from the forest of Himalaya to learn about ecology and to learn about environment. And apart from that, in 1970s, in Himalayan region, Chipko movement was started by the uneducated rural women of Garhwal village, Garhwal region. Why these women started this Chipko movement? Because the woodcutters, forest officials, they used to cut trees to get timber, logs. But these women, they know the real value of the forest is not timber. It is not only logs, it is not timber, but instead it is springs and streams. It means forest provides pure air, water and many more things. So that's why these women, uneducated women, they came in defense of the forest. They literally hugged the trees and they declared that the woodcutters have to kill them before cutting the trees. The word Chipko literally means sticking or hugging. By hugging the trees, they protected the trees, they came in the defense of the forest. So that's why it is called as Chipko movement. Chipko movement is a non-violence response against deforestation. Inspired by this Chipko movement, even Vandana Shiva became a volunteer for Chipko movement. She decided that she is going to spend her vacation by doing Padayatras, walking pilgrimages, by documenting deforestation and the work of forest activists. In 1973, Vandana Shiva wanted to go to Canada to do her PhD. Before that, she wanted to visit her favorite forest and streams. When she visited, she was shocked to see that the forests were gone and the stream was reduced to a trickle. Why? Because the woodcutters, they just cut the trees and the forest was completely destroyed and the stream was reduced to a trickle. Then she decided that she is going to be a volunteer for Chipko movement, and then she decided that she is going to protect and preserve this forest, and she became actively involved in environment. Thus she became environmentalist and social activist. After this, Vandana Shiva speaks about the dramatic incident which happened during Chipko movement, that is the incident of Bachni Devi. So Bachni Devi, she belongs to a Himalayan region village called Advani. In that village, Bachni Devi's husband, he obtained a contract to cut trees. By knowing this, Bachni Devi led a resistance against her own husband. Even after knowing that her own husband is going to cut trees, she led an act active resistance against her husband, and when the forester arrived, all the women, they held up lighted lanterns though it was a broad daylight. It is symbol of protest, and it symbolizes that these men are blind actually because they don't know the real value of forest and trees. The forester asked them, then the women told him that the real value of the forest is springs and streams, and they need to protect all these things. But in spite of all this true value of forest as given by the women of Garhwal region, Himalayan region, the forester, he shouted that the real value of the forest is profit by giving timber and resin, by giving wood, logs and rubber, forest produces profit. But in contrary to this opinion, according to the women of Garhwal region, though they were uneducated, they know the real value of the forest. It is not timber and resin, instead it is springs and streams, instead it is fertile soil, pure air and pure water. These are the real values of the forest. Later, Vandana Shiva speaks about beyond monocultures. In that she speaks about Navadanya movement and Navadanya farm. She started Navadanya movement in 1987 and she established Navadanya farm in 1994. Why she started Navadanya movement? So because Navadanya movement has got two main intentions, two main purposes. Which are they? The first one is conservation of biodiversity and second one is to promote organic farming. What do you mean by organic farming? As we have discussed in our previous classes, without using any chemical fertilizers or pesticides, performing and practicing a nature-based farming which uses only natural fertilizers, natural compost made out of leaves and organic manure. This is called as organic farming. In other words, it is also called as biodiversity intensive form of farming or eco-friendly farming. She decided that she is going to spread this Navadanya movement. With the help of this Navadanya movement, she was able to set up 100 community seed banks. With the help of that, she was able to collect different species, different seeds. For example, she was able to collect 3000 rice varieties, and later she realized that whatever the seeds she has collected, she wanted a farm for demonstration and training. Thus, she started Navadanya farm in 1994. Navadanya farm is located in the lower elevation of Himalayan region, Uttarakhand province. There, in that fertile land, she started doing this organic farming, performing this organic farming, and she named her farm as Navadanya farm. Nava means 9. She was able to produce 9 grains, 9 type of different crops in same land at same time. So that's why she has given the title Beyond Monocultures. Instead of growing one crop at one time, she was able to grow 9 different crops in Navadanya farm. And this Navadanya farm is also answer for food and nutrition crisis. How it becomes an answer? Because she was able to produce more yield, more crop and more nutrition per hectare without using any chemicals. Thus, by demonstrating and giving training for all the farmers, she was able to solve this food and nutrition crisis. So that's why she has declared the conservation of biodiversity is the answer for food and nutrition crisis. Later, she throws light on the rights of nature on the global stage. What are the different efforts made by different countries to protect nature? In that, Ecuador and Bolivia, they have special place. Ecuador, it has given rights of nature a separate section in its constitution, giving the official law and official protection for nature. And even Bolivia has given the Universal Declaration of Rights of Mother Earth. It has universally accepted the rights of Mother Earth. It is the responsibility of each and every citizen of that country to protect the environment. Inspired by these two countries, that is Ecuador and Bolivia, the UNO's General Secretary organized a conference on harmony with nature as a part of Earth Day celebrations. In that conference, Harmony with Nature, they discussed how to reconnect human beings with nature. Why? Because human beings, they themselves consider that they are separate part of nature. They don't connect themselves with nature. So that's why the discussion was centered on how to create new systems based on partnership instead of having domination of men over women, domination of human beings over nature, dominance of rich over poor. So these are the systems which are actually existing, but they wanted to change these systems, they wanted to create new systems based on partnership where everybody has equal opportunity and equal freedom. Then after this conference, after this discussion, they officially released the report with the title Harmony with Nature. So this report is conjuncted with the conference. After the conference, whatever they discussed in the conference in the form of a report, they released it, and in that report it was clearly written that ultimately environmentally destructive behavior of human beings is the result that human beings have completely failed and they are not ready to recognize that they are inseparable part of nature. And if human beings are destroying nature, it is like they are destroying themselves. According to the report, that is Harmony with Nature, if human beings are destroying nature, in the other way they are destroying themselves indirectly. If they are causing imbalance in nature, the consequences and effects should be faced by human beings themselves. If human beings are destroying nature, then imbalance will be created in nature, then natural calamities will happen, natural disasters. All these things should be faced by human beings. So that was written in the report given by the UNO's General Secretary, and the title of the report is Harmony with Nature. So just like Ecuador and Bolivia, all the countries in the world, they need to take care of nature, and all the human beings, they should think that they are inseparable part of nature. And even South African environmentalist and historian Cormac Cullinan, he points out that there was a time when human beings used to separate people based on color, that is called as apartheid. White people used to dominate and suppress black people on the basis of color, where whites were considered as superior and blacks were considered as inferior. To end this inhuman, barbaric system, all the world joined together to destroy this apartheid. Anti-apartheid movement was started. But today we are facing even more wider and deeper apartheid, that is eco-apartheid. Eco-apartheid means human beings, they have the illusion that they are separate from nature, not only in mind but even in their lives. The lifestyle of human beings is in such a way that human beings are causing destruction to nature. Human beings' lifestyle is not eco-friendly, but it is destroying ecology, destroying nature. In a way, human beings are not giving much preference and importance for nature. So that's why Cormac Cullinan has pointed out eco-apartheid. We need to come out of this eco-apartheid and we need to reconnect with nature. And in the next section, that is Dead Earth Worldview. In this Dead Earth Worldview, Vandana Shiva is focusing on Industrial Revolution, which has given a concept of dead earth. Earlier, the earth was considered as Mother Earth, vibrant earth, lively earth. But after Industrial Revolution, the Mother Earth, nurturing earth, vibrant, lively earth became raw material or dead matter. Why it happened? Because of the dominant images created by Francis Bacon. Francis Bacon, the father of modern science, according to him, in his opinion, the science and invention, they just not study nature, the phenomena of nature, but instead They have the power to conquer, subdue and destroy nature. When science and invention has this kind of power to manipulate and destroy nature, human beings thought they are superior than nature. Then they started looking at earth and nature as just raw material, which gives them raw material to be produced as finished goods to make profit. After industrial revolution, it led to capitalism. All the capitalists, the rich people, they started establishing more and more industries and factories by using natural resources, overusing it, misusing it, and in a way completely destroying nature. Because of industrial revolution, whatever the cultural prominence, cultural importance given to nature, it was completely reduced, and human beings are not giving as much importance they used to give, and there was a cultural constraint on the destruction of nature. Human beings used to worship all the trees, they used to worship different plants, medicinal plants. It's a part of culture, but the inner meaning is that all these plants and trees, they had medicinal value. But to convert them as raw material, human beings stopped worshipping them, moving from their cultural importance. They are not giving importance for culture. In other words, they are not giving importance for nature. When culture becomes weaker, nature is getting destroyed. So that's why culture and nature, they are interdependent. Where Vandana Shiva is of opinion that this dead earth world view, it began with the idea of separateness. When human beings thought they are separate from nature, then onwards they started destroying nature. According to Caroline Marchant, a philosopher, according to him, if earth is given the place of mother, earth is called as mother earth, nurturing earth, vibrant, lively earth, then nobody can kill his or her own mother for minerals, ore, iron and gold, and nobody is ready to destroy and dig her to her entrails, her internal organs. It means if earth is given the place of mother, then you cannot dig the earth, then you cannot destroy trees, then you cannot destroy forest, then you cannot dig and destroy, use the earth as raw material. If earth is looked as dead matter, then you can misuse and overuse and even destroy nature, because there is no cultural importance, cultural bonding of people with earth is not there. Then human beings can use earth as raw material instead of looking at it as mother earth. That's why Vandana Shiva quotes the two Latin words, that is terra nullius, the empty land which is ready for occupation without the consideration of indigenous people, that is terra nullius. Earlier it was called as terra madre, that is mother earth. Mother earth was transformed as raw material because of industrial revolution and because of the dominant images created by Francis Bacon. In opposition to this, Caroline Marchant gives the opinion that if human beings thinks earth as mother, then they cannot destroy it, then they cannot just destroy the nature. So that's why we need to give the earth the place of mother. And he says what nature teaches. In that section, Vandana Shiva describes about Earth University. Earth University, it was inspired by Rabindranath Tagore's Shantiniketan. Vandana Shiva started this Earth University near Navadanya farm. The main purpose of this Earth University is to teach Earth democracy, the freedom of all species to evolve within the web of life. Earth democracy means the right and freedom of each and every living thing, living organisms, different species, animals and birds to evolve in this web of life. In other words, live and let live policy. Even human beings should live and human beings should live the other species, other living things to live. They don't have the right to destroy, to exploit, to separate, to suppress and even to separate the rights of the other species. In this Earth University, the popular courses are agroecology, Gandhian globalization. The A to Z of organic farming and agroecology, Gandhian globalization. These are the two popular courses taught in Earth University. And the participants include school children, farmers and people from across the country. They learn how to work with the living soil and living seeds depending on the sun rays. They perform this organic farming. So here Vandana Shiva teach all these participants how to perform this agriculture without destroying or without causing harm to nature. So organic farming is the answer for conservation of biodiversity, and it is also answer for food and nutrition crisis. So that's why she established this Earth University to protect nature. And later in the last section, that is the poetry of the forest, Vandana Shiva highlights the importance of the forest as quoted by Rabindranath Tagore. So Rabindranath Tagore, India's Nobel laureate, popular poet, who started Shantiniketan in West Bengal, a forest school which became a university in 1921. He started this Shantiniketan, a forest school, with two intentions, that is to take inspiration from nature and to create Indian cultural renaissance. He wanted to reunite the young people and children with nature. That is the first intention. And second intention, he wanted to create a renaissance in Indian culture. So Indian culture gives more importance for nature that is missing. So that's why he started this forest school to completely indulge and involve the young generation into India's true culture, that is forest culture. And Rabindranath Tagore has written an essay called Tapovan, Forest of Purity. In this essay, he quotes that Indian civilization has been distinctive in locating its regeneration, material and intellectual in the forest, but not in the city. It means India's civilization, India's intellectual development and India's regeneration, Indians completely they depend and they have developed their culture from forest culture, but not the city. Indian civilization has developed from forest civilization. Today, we might have achieved greater civilization, so modern lifestyle, but still we should not forget our roots. So that is India's real culture is forest culture. Real civilization is forest civilization. And later, Tagore emphasizes how the peace of the forest has helped fuel the intellectual evolution of man. As we can see, it might be a scientist or an artist. Both of them, they take inspiration from nature. The scientist studies nature, and this study, this inspiration leads him to create some new inventions. In the same way, artist looks at nature, observes nature, enjoys being in nature, then it leads him to create his own piece of creation. It might be a painting, it might be a piece of poem, it might be a novel, it might be a play, whatever it might be. An artist just takes the nature as model and then he adds some new things to it. He creates his new creation. So that's how both artist and scientist, they get inspiration from nature, which gives them inspiration, which leads them to create new things. And later Tagore quotes that, he says that India's civilization is very important. Why? Because in forest we can see the process of renewal of life, which is always at play, different in sound and smell from season to season. So if you observe forest, in forest each and every day we can see a change. In forest each and every animal lives with unity, with cooperation. So by forest we can learn two prime principles of Indian civilization. Which are these two prime principles? Means the first one is unity in in diversity, and second one is democratic pluralism. Though we have diversity, we should be united, we should live with harmony and cooperation. That is first principle. And second principle is democratic pluralism, that is giving freedom and equal rights for each and everyone. All of us, all the human beings and all the living things, all different species, plants, animals, insects, birds, each and everything, it has got its own right and freedom. As the members of Earth family, the human being should recognize and protect the rights of nature. It is our responsibility. And nature teaches us the principle of compassion, the principle of unity in diversity. From forest, we can learn all these things. As given by Rabindranath Tagore, Indian civilization, it is the result of forest civilization. Indian culture has developed from forest culture. And later on Vandana Shiva says, forest is not only the source of knowledge and beauty, it is also the source of joy, it is also the source of aesthetics, where one can enjoy themselves, where one can get enough happiness from nature. If there is only unity without diversity, it becomes ground for external control. In the same way, if there is only diversity, no unity, it becomes source for conflict and contest. So that's why there should be unity in diversity. For this, the best example is forest itself. We can compare forest to India, as forest has different animals, birds, insects and species. In the same way, in India we have different religions, cultures, traditions, languages, but still we are united. We call ourselves proudly as Indians. In the same way, we need to call ourselves as the members of the Earth family, the members of nature. We are not separate from nature, we are united with nature. If we destroy nature, it is like we are destroying ourselves. So that's why Vandana Shiva says we need to protect nature, we need to protect forest. And Vandana Shiva gives a simple solution for all this, that is the end of consumerism and accumulation. We should not accumulate. Accumulating means collecting. We should not collect the resources more and more. Whatever the need we have, according to that need, we need to just utilize, we need to use the resources, but we should not overuse or misuse or destroy natural resources. And we need to protect nature instead of destroying nature. And according to Vandana Shiva, Tagore has highlighted the contest, the conflict between greed and compassion, where greed symbolizes human being, compassion symbolizes nature, and where competition symbolizes human beings, harmony symbolizes nature. So this is the essay written by Vandana Shiva. For all these things, we need one answer, and that answer can be given by nature herself when we look at nature as teacher. We need to accept ourselves as inseparable part of nature. It is our responsibility, it is our duty, it is our prime responsibility, prime work to protect, to recognize and to give importance for all living organisms, living things, and we need to protect nature because we are the members of the Earth family, we are the members of nature family, we are living in nature. So by considering nature as superior, we need to move from anthropocentrism to ecocentrism, where anthropocentrism considers human beings as a central element of this universe. Ecocentrism considers nature as a central element of this universe. That is true, nature is a central element of this universe. We need to protect nature, we need to sustain the imbalance, we need to come out of the imbalance and sustain balance in nature. So otherwise human beings, they are causing their own destruction. By this Vandana Shiva gives the message that there is a much more in the life of human beings, the role of nature, that human being should protect nature. Human beings' role is more in nature, and nature's role is more in the life of human beings. By this, Vandana Shiva ends the essay by giving a message that human beings are inseparable part of nature. If they destroy nature, they are going to destroy themselves. And if human beings are not foolish enough, then they need to protect nature instead of destroying it. I hope all of you are clear with this. If you remember these points, if you remember these key points, I hope all of you can remember the whole essay. The first one is Vandana Shiva's childhood, then Chipko movement, the incident of Bachni Devi, then Navadanya movement and Navadanya form under the title Beyond Monoculture, then the rights of nature as given by Euclid and Bolivia, then Dead Earth Worldview, the opinions of Francis Bacon and Carolyn Merchant, then what nature teaches, that is Earth University and Earth Democracy. At last, the poetry of the forest, that is the significance of forest as given by Rabindranath Tagore, and the quote which has given, he quotes from ancient texts that we need to know that in this moving world, all the moving things are created by or enveloped by God, and we need to protect it instead of destroying it. We need to find happiness in renunciation but not in accumulation. The end of consumerism and accumulation is the joy, beginning of joy of living. So we need to protect nature because we are the members of nature. We are the family members of nature. Nature, earth and human beings, they are just like one family. By this, Vandana Shiva concludes her essay by saying, save earth, save nature, live longer. Live and let live. So this is the message and this is the intention of Vandana Shiva's essay, to spread awareness among us, among human beings, to protect nature. I think all of you are clear with this. I hope I have forgotten to dictate few questions in the previous session. I want you to write down these questions. First question: who inspired Vandana Shiva? Who inspired Vandana Shiva to start Earth University? Who inspired Vandana Shiva to start Earth University? Second question: why Rabindranath Tagore started Shantiniketan? Why Rabindranath Tagore started Shantiniketan? Next question: when did Shantiniketan become a university? When did Shantiniketan become a university? Next question: which is the essay written by Rabindranath Tagore? Which is the essay written by Rabindranath Tagore? Next question: why Indian civilization is distinctive? Why Indian civilization is distinctive? Why Indian civilization is distinctive? Next question: what has helped the intellectual evolution of man? What has helped the intellectual evolution of man? Next question: which are the two principles of Indian civilization? Which are the two principles of Indian civilization? Which are the two principles of Indian civilization? Next question: what becomes the ground for external control? What becomes the ground for external control? Which is the source for internal contest and conflict? which is the source for internal contest and conflict. Next question. What nature teaches according to Vandana Shiva? What nature teaches according to Vandana Shiva? Next question. Which is the beginning of the joy of living? Which is the beginning of the joy of living? Which is the beginning of the joy of living? Which is the beginning of the joy of living? Next question. Who is best teacher according to Vandana Shiva? Who is the best teacher according to Vandana Shiva? Who is the best teacher according to Vandana Shiva? Next question. What is the responsibility of human beings being the members of Earth family? What is the responsibility of human beings being the members of Earth family? So these are all 1 mark questions. Next 4 mark question. Write a note on the significance of the forest. Write a note on the significance of the forest as given by Rabindranath Tagore. Write a note on the significance of the forest as given by Rabindranath Tagore. Write a note on nature and human beings. Write a note on nature and human beings as given by Vandana Shiva. Write a note on nature and human beings as given by Vandana Shiva. Okay, that's all. The 1 mark questions and 4 mark questions. I hope all of you have understood the essay. So all the students once again read the essay from the beginning, and whatever the points I have written on the board, please remember these points. If you are able to remember these points, you are able to remember the whole essay. And I once again ask you to underline and highlight the key points while you are reading the text. In the next class, we will take up new chapter. Until then, all of you take care. Bye.